Welcome to today's episode of Engineering Success Profile Editions. Today we're joined by Alex Mather, graduate bridge engineer at WSP. Hi Alex, and welcome to the show.
Hi, you're right.
Yeah, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great, it's great for you to be here. Can we start right at the beginning? What made you choose a career in engineering?
So it's one of the common ones, like I liked problem solving, I loved maths and physics, and it started with me doing further maths and physics at A level along with chemistry, and I loved chemistry at GCSE, and I was like, I want to be a chemical engineer, like I want to apply these skills, and I get to chemistry A level and I just cannot grasp it, so I'm back to the maths.
Really?
Yeah, I realised that my true love for maths came back then.
Right.
And then it was at a careers day that I kind of was going around looking at all the different like engineering, and it was civil that really stood out to me. Like I just loved like the big structures.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you become involved in bridge engineering?
It was actually by fluke. So I was on the highways team. I did my summer placement with highways, absolutely loved it. And then when I started my position with WSP as a graduate, went into the highways team and I was really enjoying it. And then the team got disbanded. So I was moved to the bridges team and I was a bit nervous about it. I was like, am I going to enjoy it as much as highways? Because I was like, I'll give it a go. And like classic and cliche, but I've never looked back, and I just love it in bridges now. Yeah.
So what was your route then into engineering? Were you apprentice, graduate?
I was a graduate. I did my A levels in maths and physics, and then did a degree at University of Leeds in civil engineering with project management. So you got to kind of experience different bits of management and like construction management, which is some of the skills I've used the most in the job, really.
Yeah. So being a bridge engineer, what does your role actually entail on a day-to-day basis?
So a lot of the things I've done in my year now as a bridge engineer is a lot of inspection work. So we've gone around inspecting. I've inspected road bridges in Cumbria of like loads of different materials, reinforced concrete, masonry. We inspected one from the 1800s made of wrought iron that was grade 2 listed, that was really good. Bits and bobs of design for a really big infrastructure project in Scotland, but more design will come the more senior I get, and I've hopefully got some assessments in the pipeline, so that's finally pulling my maths into it. So
So how long would you say you spent on site and how long do you spend in the office? Is it like a 50-50 split, or does it depend on what's in at the time?
Yeah, so it's kind of like I'm with a consultancy, so I'm a lot more office based, but that works for me. But I do enjoy going out on site. So when we did inspections of the road bridges, I was on site for a week, all around Cumbria, visiting all the different bridges. But there can just be short, snappy site visits, that kind of thing. Or if it's bridge design, I know when I was seconded on the highways team as part of the quality assurance team for the Silverlink project, there were bridge engineers on that, so they were more full-time on a construction site for like a couple of years, just overseeing that. So such a range.
So you said about bridge inspections. Can you tell me a bit more about that? You know, when you go out on site, let's say a concrete bridge, what are you actually looking for? What are you doing, and how do you do it?
The thing that comes out to me most when you ask that is something that is different from the masonry inspections, is that we take a hammer and we tap the parts of the reinforced concrete, and that's to look for spalling, to make sure that the bridge isn't hollow inside. But it's things like cracks, efflorescence, so that's like leakage and stuff that is going to weaken the different parts of the bridge. Small things that you wouldn't necessarily guess would cause structural damage, like if vegetation's growing, that could crack the inside. General defects, like that kind of thing, like anything that stands out to you that says this bridge is not safe is mainly cracks. So
and then I guess you have to write a report on that, send it back to the client. And then from there analysis is done and such like.
So after that, assessments can be done. That's something that's coming up for me, but that's working out you kind of like loading on the bridge, can it support the load that it was designed to still after the years have kind of passed, that kind of thing.
So for you, what's been the most challenging part of the position?
So this is quite trivial, but the work I'm doing on at the minute is the inspections, and it's actually getting permission to kind of go to these bridges. Literally, you've got to get,
Yeah,
say it's in a rural area, you've got to get permission from the farmers that the land's on. You've got to like talk to the TOCs and area managers of rail bridges to get access for that kind of thing, safety aspects. Something we did in the past was in Cumbria, when we were inspecting bridges, we needed to access via the river underneath, and it's actually one of, I think, the only rivers in the country that have pearl mussels in, and these are endangered, so we had to get Natural England involved, get a permit to make sure we could go in. We had to have like a representative on site with us at all times to make sure we weren't in like putting any of the endangered mussels in any danger or anything. I want to say though, when you ask me that, learning so much is something I probably not struggle with, but that's kind of what I find most challenging, because I'm definitely someone that's got like imposter syndrome, and because you're learning so much all the time, my brain will just go, oh my days, like I can't do this. And you just got to remind yourself, like, I've like worked really hard to get where I am, I've overcame all my problems, and just like keep going and I will get there.
Absolutely, yeah. Just going back to the inspections, because I just thought of something then. You know, when you go onto rail, obviously you need training to go onto rail. You know, is there a lot of courses that you need to go on for different locations of bridges and such like?
So I've completed the general one, which is roads. I've got more rail training coming up for when I go on there, but there are different courses to make sure you're safe to really be around the rail, whether it's a third rail and it's live, but these are turned off only, other than like seriously special occasions, these will mainly be turned off. Working over deep water, that kind of thing. Cold water training should be coming up for me, which is going to be like, that'll be an experience, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So do you then do your own risk assessments, or do you have to read the risk assessment, sorry, before you go on site?
In the past, I've done my own and other people's, but we make sure these are checked by technical directors, so they have to be like ticked off and approved. And this was for roads, road bridges. Rail is a bit more complex, obviously, because it can be a bit more dangerous. That's something that I'm going to experience more of in the future.
Yeah. So for you, what's been the most rewarding part of what you do?
I really like knowing that the bridges that we're inspecting, that we're making sure people are going to be safe. So it might not seem like making a big difference in society, saying, oh, I'm doing this bridge inspection, but that is going to have such a like really critical impact in society if it does fall down. And things like if it's unsafe and it has to be closed, that bridge is going to be closed while maintenance is happening. And in these really rural areas, I remember if that bridge is closed, it adds so much time onto the diversion route, and that's people's like livelihoods. The roads are getting more congested, the air quality is going down, that kind of thing. Just so many elements of it that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but I do love the safety aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell me a little bit more about the outreach work that you are involved with, including being on the board of the early careers for WES and the work you do with the ICE?
Yes, so I was on the Women's Engineering Society Tyneside and Teesside cluster. So this was like a local one in the northeast, and we were kind of organising events, promoting different events. So this was just before COVID, so they've been like a lot of webinars, but they have been really good. And then through this, I kind of moved on to the Early Careers Board, which is a national committee, and we do loads of different schemes. So one of the famous ones that I really enjoy is the Lottie Doll project. So for people that don't know about that, we get a small Lottie doll and we take photos of the doll with female engineers doing different engineering tasks, and the idea of it is that young children will see this and they'll think, oh, if I can see it, I can be it.
Absolutely.
So I really love that. And I've like been a star of the ECB member profile videos made by one of our amazing members, where she basically followed me around Liverpool filming me and asking questions about engineering, so that was really good. And that's kind of one of the schemes we work on, and I am trying to boost our social media engagement at the minute to make sure we get more people learning about Women's Engineering Society and what they do.
Yeah. So everyone, please follow the Engineering Society.
Please follow it.
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put some links at the bottom of the
Yeah,
video.
definitely. Yeah. And I know you're also an eMentor for Leeds University. Can you
Yes.
explain more about what that involves and the positive impact that has on students?
So I found out about the scheme, I think it was through LinkedIn about a year ago, and I signed up. I've been a eMentor for 2 semesters now. I'm on my 3rd. So basically, mentors will get paired with mentees, and the mentees are still students at the University of Leeds. And the idea is to kind of guide them as they progress from university into the working world, because it can be quite a bit of a big jump. And just kind of give them tips and advice on anything they want to know about, really. So things I've done in the past is I've given one of my mentees advice about different jobs in the transport sector. So I'm not in the transport sector myself, but I have a large network of people that can tell me. I've helped give advice on assessment centres and interviews, tips on applications and CVs, and I really enjoy it because I was fortunate that I had a mentor through a different company while I was in university, and I know how much it benefited me. And I know how much it can benefit other people and really give them confidence about the next steps, and I really enjoyed doing that.
And I suppose during lockdown as well, it's even more important, isn't it, to have somebody that you can bounce things off, because we don't get that interaction, do we, anymore?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things, like still being able to build relationships even and engage in networking. Like during the pandemic, because it's not been a great time to do that, and that's something that I did a lot of pre-pandemic.
Yeah. So I know you're starting your own YouTube channel. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? What topics you're going to cover, and when we can expect the first series to be out?
So I've got my pilot filming in a couple of weeks with one of my colleagues. So basically, it's going to focus around diversity and all the different types of diversity that should really be celebrated, and knowledge should be provided of it in engineering a lot more. It kind of came about when I saw a post about neurodiversity on Twitter within engineering, and I did a bit of like Googling about it, and I found out that it was things like autism and ADHD and dyslexia, and I thought, I don't really know about that, and I'm like, I'd like to know more about it myself and learn. And also, if I don't know about it, how many other people are in the same situation? We need to kind of bring light to different things, not just neurodiversity, things like differences in education, religion, mental health is a big one coming up, and all those. So I really want to focus on those and interview people that are part of these different groups or have experienced this, and kind of learn for myself and help others learn in the process.
Yeah, fantastic. It sounds fantastic. I'm really looking forward to watching that, to be honest.
Thank you.
That'd be great. So within engineering, what attributes do you think are needed to have a great career in engineering?
I think the number one thing for me is definitely perseverance. I think I could say this for everyone in anyone's career, not just engineering, that there will be hurdles and there will be tough times where you feel like, oh, can I not do this? Or maybe it's just my imposter syndrome telling me that. But keep going at it, keep persevering, hard work, and you will get there. I guess this is the same for anything in life. Just try as hard as you can. Also, problem solving is a big one, and definitely organisation.
Right, yeah. So what advice would you give a future engineer?
I would say Google and research as much as you can about the different roles. Try and experience as much as you can. So if I'd never experienced, I would still be in highways, which I absolutely loved, but my true passion is bridge engineering. So you might not know that you're going to like it until you try it, that kind of thing. And just go for it, as cliche as it is. Don't let anyone stop you. Don't let anyone tell you can't do it. You are going to have setbacks and you're going to have people pushing you back at times. But again, this is the same for anything. Just keep pushing through and believe in yourself.
Yeah. And finally, we know the importance of promoting engineering to young people. what would your message be to actually attract somebody into the engineering industry that hadn't thought about engineering as a career?
It's a difficult question. I guess when I hadn't thought of engineering, I kind of pulled in all the aspects of things that I enjoyed and was good at.
Yeah.
So I'd try and, I guess it's different for everyone, I'd try and relate to what they really enjoyed. But there are so many ways that not just civil engineering that I do, engineering as a whole can be linked to absolutely anything in the world. It's one of the fundamentals. So I'd try and relate to the individual. But how's a tricky question?
They're not meant to be all easy, you know.
I guess I just look at all the good things that engineers do, because it's so easy to, I kind of guess, look at the big picture of the big buildings and look how glam it can be with the skyscrapers and stuff. But engineers do so much to help people. So, for example, the construction of the Nightingale hospitals, getting those up really quickly, things like that. Water sanitation is a big one. And
Brilliant.
Yeah, you've really stumped me with that one.
Well, look, we'll leave it there. Listen, Alex, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been great to speak to you today.
Oh, thank you for having me.